Hey everybody, Aaron here, another episode of Fish10X. I am super pumped to have good buddy Kenny out with us today. And today, we're gonna talk to you a little bit about spy baiting. It's something that I was really hoping wouldn't get out of the bag, but the cat is out of the bag. But the last 4 years, we've been playing with this. We've been catching a ton of giant smallmouth. We're out here on the Smallmouth factory, Lady Lake Simcoe. And today, we're gonna take you through from start to finish how to catch fish on the spin bait by spy baiting. How fat she is. Now with spy baiting, in my experience, it's about 4 summers now that we've been playing with the spy bait, and I am still a little bit disappointed that people are starting to find out about it, but it seems like just this year that more and more people are getting comfortable and starting to talk about spy baiting. And one of the things that I've really found over the last few years that's made a huge difference is the equipment that you're using. So typically what I'm using is about a 6, 9 to 7 foot medium to medium light rod. I don't think the rod has as much impact as the reel and the line does. Your drop shotting rod will do just fine for spy baiting. You don't want to use anything stiffer than your drop shotting rod because you're using pretty light line, just like when you're out drop shotting. Now the reel for me, I like a bigger reel. So I'm using a 40 series reel here. I like a bigger reel for a few reasons. One, it lets me put a lot more of this braid or super line on there. I'm using Fireline Crystal. Right now I'm using 6-pound Fireline Crystal, and having a bigger, deeper spool, I can get a lot more line on there because you're making really long casts, as much as you can when you're spy baiting. The different gears, they're a lot bigger in a bigger reel like this, which means there's more surface area for the drag to be able to push on itself, so you get a much more sensitive drag. The drag is critically important when you're fighting fish around the boat. These hooks are so small that if you don't have your drag set properly and a smooth drag, you're going to lose a lot of fish as they pull out and they pull those hooks out of their mouths. Can't see with the light. Oh, ooh, the small hooks get you.
Yeah, that'll happen.
That'll happen to you.
Yeah. Can't get them all, but we got bit.
Now when it comes to the line, I think the line is the piece that has the biggest impact on the way the bait will move and work. Having a braid or super line backing is critically important. Reason being, you're making such long casts that you need to have something that you have the ability to set the hook even if it's out on the end of the cast. So having a good braid backing, a good super line backing is really important. And then what you're going to do is you're going to connect your backing to a fluorocarbon leader. I use the crazy Alberto knot. The fluorocarbon leader, 6, 8, maybe up to 10 pound. Depends on who you're fishing with. I know Kenny likes 10. For me, I'll often use 6, and there's a very big difference between 6 to 8 to 10 pound. And what it does when you're using a spy bait, one of the features of the spy bait that makes a fish bite is what they call listing. Listing is when the bait rocks back and forth as it's going through the water. The thicker the line that you've got, so the heavier the pound test, the more drag that you have as it's coming through the water, the more drag on the line, the slower and less of a rock you're gonna get back and forth. So experiment with the leader, but make sure it's fluorocarbon, because no matter what, you are moving that bait nice and slow. Fish are gonna see it from a long way out. They're gonna have to come up and grab it. And if they're gonna grab it, a nice fluorocarbon leader, it's one of the, I guess, most invisible types of fishing line that you can use under the water. Oh shit, he's on board. Gonna throw him on? Yeah. Here we go, bud. Yeah, buddy. Check them out. Now, I think a ton of people look at using the spin bait and think about spy baiting only in super deep water. We're in 3.5 feet of water right now. Dude, what happened? You just bring it across the top of an open spot, or?
Yeah, I was bringing it across the top of the weeds. Hit an open spot there, and you just see the black mark come right underneath it.
Dude.
Grabbed it and turned.
I mean, what do you think that one? I mean, it's probably 3.5, somewhere between 3.5 and 4.
Yeah.
She's thick.
She is thick.
We're in 3.5 feet of water, grass, rock mix, and man, spy baiting. Doesn't matter where you are. Nice job, buddy. Big part of spy baiting, and really a lot of different techniques right now, is having a braid main line and then a fluorocarbon leader. It's a whole bunch of different knots that you can use to connect the two. My favorite, they call it the crazy Alberto knot. I don't know who this Alberto guy is who got the name for it, but that's what I do. And what it is again, it's connecting your fluoro leader to any superline or braid main line. So the first thing you got to do is you take the fluorocarbon and you double it over, so you get a loop. From there, what you've got to do is you're going to take the end of the main line here and you put it through the loop. I pinch it in my fingers. I pull off about 6 inches because you're going to wrap that around this folded over piece of fluorocarbon. From there, I grab this loop with my finger to hold it there, pinch those 3, and I'm going to wrap it 8 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, wraps around on the way up. What I'll then do is I'll pinch the top, I'll grab it, and I'll wrap it back down itself that same 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you take the tag end and put it back through that loop. Now, once you've got that, what I'll do is I'll start to pull it. I got the 2 tag ends, so all 4 pieces of line in my 2 hands. I'll start to slowly cinch it down. Once those overlaps there get tighter, like they're starting to get there now, I'll wet it. I'll grab only the main line and start to slowly pull that down and ease it across with my fingers if I need to make sure that you don't get any knots. Pull it down nice and tight. From there, all I've got to do is clip off these 2 tag ends. So I like to use a little bit, like a 1/2 inch there on the super line. And then when I go down onto the tag end of the fluorocarbon, I'll cut it nice and tight. So I get a nice tight knot, and there you go. You've got a nice strong knot. You won't be able to break it, and you've got your main line or your braid now connected to your fluoro, and that's the crazy Alberto knot. Let's see if you can grab it. Just a little guy. There you go, bud. Nice. Look how much skin that is. Like, it's just a tiny little bit of skin, but having the drag that's set like that, you can get those fish in the boat. And again, this is not a giant, but those tiny little hooks, when we talk about how important it is to have good drag, there's no way that fish is coming in the boat, if he doesn't get fought properly. So I think one of the things that is the most challenging for people as they start playing with a spin bait is how boring it is. It's so
painstaking,
so painfully boring. What you got to do is you got to cast it out. So again, we talked about a big long cast. You're gonna make, like, that cast is gonna go, I mean, it's as long as you can throw anything. It's like throwing a rattle trap with a spinning rod. But what I'm doing, the reason I keep talking about it, is we gotta let it sink to the depth that you want it. So the biggest thing about the spin bait and spy baiting in general, like we were talking about on the way up here, is you're using it as horizontal. Yeah. You gotta get it right on the plane. So what you wanna do is you wanna make sure that it gets out there to the point where the fish are. Now I'm already on the bottom, but it's sinking about 1 foot a second.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
So that's basically what you want to have, is you want to get that bait out to the depth where the fish are on that plane and be able to bring it horizontally, so basically parallel to that point. Yeah. The biggest thing for me, so I'm just going to get some of the weeds off there, is the pace that you're going to bring it in. It's about this slow.
Yeah, your cadence is going to be 100%. The biggest issue is trying to play around with your cadence to keep that horizontal at the perfect depth that you want to keep it at. So we're fishing, 7 feet right now, and we're catching fish, 4 feet down. So you let it sink, your 4 seconds, start bringing it in, and just try and keep it at that depth the entire way. I spy my little eye.
It's a fun, quick night. We got him from what, 3 feet out into about 11.
Yes,
but man, I think you win this one.
I'll take that.
All right, well, let's get him back. Shot him there.
Let him go. Let him
All
go.
right, dude. Man, ton of fun. We do it again.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna get you next time though.
We've been trying for a while, buddy.